At the Julian Way, we empower individuals with disabilities to thrive in faith communities by breaking barriers and fostering belonging. Your support helps us create accessible spaces where everyone feels valued and seen. Join us in making a difference today at www.thejulianway.org. Together, we can build communities of belonging.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Palsies with Palsies. I am your palsy, Bekah Anderson.
And I am your palsy, Justin Hancock. Hello,
And this is
Rebecca.
a mini-sode. Hello, Justin. And,
Yes,
and hello, listeners. We are once again popping into your feed on an off week because we have another one of these topics that we don't necessarily want to take time to do an entire episode about right now, but that is important and that we feel like we should come and talk to you about for a couple minutes.
yes, it's what I like to say. There are no off weeks anymore.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
as long as there are dumpster fires, we will supply you with information, fire extinguishers, so that you can know what you need to know to move forward and be an ally that is reasonably to moderately well informed.
These are times that call for all of us to become firefighters, and we don't have all of the firefighting tools, but we got some of them. So sharing what we can in hopes of putting out more dumpster fires.
Absolutely. So, what we're going to talk about today is something that, if you're a Facebook follower of mine, either at my personal page or on the julianway.org, I released a blog on yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. And that is the move that the current administration has made on this federal special education apparatus and the like. Becca, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of what's happening there, and I will fill in gaps as I can.
Yeah, so as most people in the United States are probably aware, at the time of this recording, the federal government is currently experiencing a government shutdown while Congress attempts to figure out funding for the government. And one of the things that the administration is doing during that time is attempting to implement more layoffs and reductions in force for federal employees. And one of those is happening in the Department of Education. And specifically, this is targeting staff who handle the implementation of IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It is one of the primary pieces of legislation that guarantees education to children with disabilities and provides for a lot of special education programming. So this is the staff people who provide information and resources to states, to families, to schools. This is not necessarily cutting funding for special education, but having fewer staff people means that if someone has questions, there are fewer people that can answer their questions, and less information often means that people are not going to get their needs met. The most recent news as of recording today on October 22nd, these cuts have temporarily been blocked. So at the moment, these employees are not being laid off. But the key word there is temporary, and this is an ongoing situation, so we will probably talk about this more in the future. But for right now, that's where this stands.
And I think what is key to remember is something that you and I were talking about moments before we came on air, is this often happens that lower courts will block Trump's moves initially. And
Hmm.
since it is related to dismissing people in the midst of a government shutdown, to be honest, we don't really have a clear parameter of what will happen. Uh,
Hmm.
because you get into some real employment law and
Yeah.
uh, things that are a little bit more, at least I hate to use this phrase, finger quote, allegedly written into the fabric of the United States, although we've seen a lot of
Yeah.
that shift as well. So
Hmm.
uh, it really depends on how hard the administration wants to push for these particular cuts to go through. Um,
Hmm.
but as you and I were, and this is what you and I were discussing moving forward, or before we got on air, excuse me, is for me, whether these cuts are um, ever carried out, even to some reduced degree,
Hmm.
intent is all of it.
Yeah.
Intent for me is the whole ball game. Uh,
Hmm.
there's a reason that this was landed on as something that could be an easy route for cost reduction,
Hmm.
uh, because no one would quote unquote notice.
Hmm.
Um, and so let's talk about why intent matters in this case, uh, in terms of who this will affect and where these cuts are most likely to be felt, uh, if
Yeah.
and when they do go through.
Yeah. So this, another thing that we were talking about before we got on was that different states and different schools rely to different degrees on the federal special education apparatus. Right, there are some communities for whom the state level has their needs covered around resources on implementing IDEA, and then there are communities that do not. And so the effect of this, were it to go into effect, would be hitting disabled children and their families, and especially those with fewer resources, those with less income, those who are most marginalized. Um, and so that's to me why the intent matters here, is that this is like so many changes that are attempted and carried out by this administration. Um, the message here is, we don't care if those students have a an adequate education. We don't care if they get the services and resources that they need. And that is a statement of disregard for children with disabilities, but also for uh, people in poverty, people who don't have access to other kinds of resources to get the help that they need.
Yeah, I and you brought this up also before we were on air. Some pushback from the pushback
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen from the administration, and most notably the Office of secretary. I think it's Linda McMahon. Yeah, if
Yeah,
I'm mistaken. Boy, the McMahon family is just that could be a whole
that's a whole
podcast
episode. Yep.
in and of itself. Is that the idea, particularly, is still law. We're not touching any of the state special ed apparatus. They'll still have access to um, services and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Hmm.
which I suppose is one of the podcasting tried and truths that I learned from other justice-based podcasts that I listen to is now we're getting to the difference between technically true and
Hmm.
meaningfully true.
Yep.
And the administration seems right now to be leaning heavily on technically true. Yes,
Yeah.
those apparatus will still exist. Yes, the access will technically still exist. But if you look at, say, the 3 or 4 poorest states or lowest performing educational states, uh,
Hmm.
that rely almost exclusively on the state and the federal apparatus talking to one another.
Hmm.
Uh, what you've done here is exactly what I do when I get tired of my child's noisy toy. Uh, I remove the batteries, and yes, he still has the toy. It can no longer beep and bloop and shoot odd things at me. And you've essentially taken the batteries out of the system. It's
Yeah.
still there, yes, but it no longer functions as intended because it practically cannot.
Yeah. If information and support are the batteries, and that's what a lot of these roles are providing is helping people to know their rights and to understand what they can and should have access to, and help them get to the places where they can get those things. And without that, you're going to have a lot of people just not using the system that need it.
Yeah. And we don't have to, like, this is what's so bizarre about doing this now when everybody is looking, um, is we don't have to wonder if this is true.
Hmm.
We have a test case, like, actively, or I guess not going on right now, but going on right now in the Social Security apparatus.
Hmm.
Massive layoffs early in the year or late 2024 in preparation for 2025, and wait times and access to resources have dwindled, and wait times have dramatically increased. We don't have to like make that up. That's literally true.
Yep.
So we know what's going to happen. It's just how long it will take for us to see the effects if and when these cuts do go through.
Yeah. So in terms of how do we participate in putting out the fire, you certainly can be writing letters and sending emails to the White House. You certainly can be talking to your Congress people about this. You could look into what in your state the apparatuses for these things look like, and talk to officials in your state about, how do you feel about losing access to these things? What is your plan if you lose access to these kinds of resources? And ask them to advocate and say they don't want to have a lack of staffers working on idea implementation. And we will be watching this to see what happens as it makes its way through the courts.
Yeah, and we will always keep you up to date if and when there is news, or if and when there is new things that we think you need to know about. And I would just, as a way of echoing what Bekah said, and I have special experience in this because my mom was a special ed coordinator for over a decade before going back into the school as a principal, um, where she was early in her career. But I would start at the local level. Get in touch with your school district. Get to know the special ed apparatus at the local level. Have those conversations with the special ed coordinators and the heads of the department in your local schools, so that you know that they do have a plan, and so that you know, as a parent or a student, the ways that you can interface at the local level that can be useful and help them do their jobs effectively. Basically, I would advocate working backwards. Start local, go to the state, and then go to the federal level, because you're going to feel the state and local long before you feel the federal. But it's all interconnected.
Yeah, and there's likely more that you can individually influence at the local and state levels as well.
Absolutely. Well, Bekah, thanks for having this brief conversation with me and hopping on and keeping this topic top of our mind. And we will continue to see what is happening as it moves forward, as you said.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll be back on this topic at some point, hopefully with good news and maybe with some stories of our own experiences of special education and the ups and downs thereof, but also the essential nature of it, the need
Absolutely.
for it.
It's, as I said in the blog yesterday, it's vital to who I am and why I am who I am today. Friends, if you want to support work like this about spreading knowledge about disability needs and helping disabled people advocate for themselves, and basically the work of the Julian Way and companioning and being people with disabilities doing the companioning, you can find more at thejulianway.org, which is our website. We'll put a donation link into the show notes of this episode. Any little bit that you can donate helps, particularly as we move into holidays and look towards Giving Tuesday on December 3rd. So there are plenty of ways to reach out to us and help support our work. But for now, friends, thanks for joining us. Go out and put some good into the world and have a great day.
Bye, everyone.